Gurung community is observing the Tammu Losar and New Year today. Also in this edition of Kantipur News, we have updates about the criticism of Prime Minister and the ministers inside Nepali Congress, Ukraine's attack on Russia and the English Premier League. Good morning, I'm Prarambha, Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Government accepts lack of awareness while using force during Lalitpur protest. Family members of deceased to be provided 1 million rupees in compensation. Ruling Nepali Congress forms criteria for the National Assembly election, decides to prioritize those previously ignored. At least 20 killed and 100 injured in Ukraine's deadly airstrikes on southwest Russia. 3 children among the dead in deadliest attacks on Russia since its Ukraine invasion. And Manchester City see off Sheffield United 2-0 to close gap with leaders Liverpool. Nottingham Forest secure a 2-1 win over Manchester United. The government has announced of providing compensation to the family members of those who had been killed during the protest in Lalitpur's Palkamari. The government has also admitted of failure in adopting basic principles on the use of force and firearms. The meeting of the Council of Ministers decided to provide 1 million rupees each to the family members of those deceased. Susan Raut of Dahal and Birender Shah of Assam were shot and killed during the protest held by youth demanding for the participation in language test for employment in South Korea. The government has decided to bear the cost of treatment of all those who were injured. Likewise, the Ministry of Home Affairs has recalled Chief District Officer of Lalitpur, Rudra Prasad Pandit, and the police headquarters has recalled Chief of Lalitpur Police Range, SSP Siddhi Bikram Shah. The ministry has also decided to suspend DSP Umesh Raj Lomsal, who had been assigned handling the Palkamari protest, and Bodhras Dhanwar, the personal security officer of Minister for Physical Infrastructure Prakash Jwala. The government has also decided to relieve EPS Korea branch director Guru Datta Subedi from his post. Prime Minister Pushpakumar Dahal was briefed regarding the Palkamari incident by Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister Nayan Kaji Shrestha, Secretary of Home Ministry Dinesh Vatarai, Inspector General of Police Basanta Kumar, and Inspector General of Armed Police Force Raju Aryal, as well as Chief District Officers of Kathmandu and Lalitpur. Likewise, the Premier received information regarding the incident from Minister for Physical Infrastructure Prakash Jwala as well. The Constitution of Nepal ensures the right to stage a peaceful protest and raise voices for the public's demands to be addressed. A number of such protests have turned violent in the past. As per legal provisions, local administrations and concerned security bodies are responsible in handling such situations. There are several instances where police have fired shots during peaceful protests which have drawn the security body into controversy. Palkamari incident that involved human casualties is just a representative case. Youth had been staging protests demanding for the participation in the language test for employment in South Korea for the past few days. Security personnel were being mobilized to prevent any untoward incidents. However, the situation in Palkamari escalated, which resulted in the death of 23-year-old Susan Raut and 22-year-old Birender Shah. Questions have been raised on the use of force by the security body, causing human casualties. Police had opened 18 rounds of fire into the air. The main reason for the police to fire shots was the arrival of Minister for Physical Infrastructure Prakash Jwala. It has become a matter of investigation whether the minister insisted on going ahead through the protest site or the security officers lacked information regarding it. It has been said that the police opened fire after the vehicle with the minister on board was attacked by the protesters. Questions have been raised on the use of lethal weapons instead of rubber bullets and tear gas to bring the situation under control. This is not the first incident caused by a weak information system of the country's security body. A similar incident had occurred in Gongabu's bus park last year. The conflict between the bus park management and drivers was not solved on time, and a police vehicle was vandalized while a robbery took place at the Lotse Mall. In another incident, police had opened fire during a protest by employees of Simrangod municipality in Bara, which had resulted in the death of 21-year-old Lakshmi Mukhia. Likewise, 3 individuals in Guras municipality of Dahal were shot dead by police on 15th of July earlier this year during the protest held by government staff demanding for the extension of their term. These are just representative cases where clashes between police and protesters had resulted in human casualties. Former police officers have attributed the rise in such incidents to mobilization of security personnel who possess deadly weapons and lack of security education among the chief district officers who are responsible for issuing the order to open fire. The District Security Committee, led by Chief District Officers, and the Central Security Committee, led by the Ministry of Home Affairs, are responsible in assessing the security situation of all districts. Although the rising security challenges in the country are being assessed, the authorities have failed to identify their nature and formulate proper plans to address them. There is a general call on the government to review the type of weapons that are supposed to be used during peaceful protests and violent ones. Ruling Nepali Congress has decided to prioritize members previously not provided with opportunities for the National Assembly election. Meeting of the Central Working Committee of Nepali Congress has decided to prioritize members who have made contributions for a long period of time but yet to receive opportunities for the National Assembly election. Election for the 19 seats at the National Assembly is slated for January 25. Nepali Congress set the criteria for prioritizing new faces after members who had previously been provided opportunities lost elections and were proportionate candidates shared their aspirations for the National Assembly. The meeting also decided to conduct Congress campaign from January 21 to February 5. Nepali Congress, the largest party of the House of Representatives, has informed that construction of 1,000 temporary shelters for the survivors of Jharsuguda earthquake has also concluded. The party has also urged the government to ensure good governance. It is Tamu Losar today. The Gurung community is observing the new year as well. Bidding an adieu to the year of cats, the Gurung community is welcoming the year of vulture. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal has extended greetings on the occasion of Tamu Losar. The government has also declared a public holiday today to mark Tamu Losar. A cultural festival has also been organized in Illam to celebrate Tamu Losar. 29 individuals have been injured in a bus accident that was headed to Chokhora of Dang from Bardia for a picnic. Police have said that the accident had occurred earlier this morning in Damar Gaon under the Amelia Tulsipur Road section of Dang. 4 individuals who are in a critical condition have been taken to Kohalpur in Pake for treatment. Superintendent of Police of Dang, Ram Bahadur Kesi, said that another 25 injured individuals are being treated at Rapti Provincial Hospital in Tulsipur. 40 passengers were on board the ill-fated vehicle. Members of the Piparhawa Krisak Samuha of Maina Pokhari in Bardia were headed for a picnic in Dang. In our public voice segment, we have asked in several provinces regarding ways to promote tourism through culture and heritage. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
मल्टिमिडिया र सामाजिक सञ्जालबाट पनि प्रचार गरेर यसले पनि पर्यटक प्रबन्धनमा सहयोग पुर्याउँछ।
गंगा सागर भयो, रतन सागर भयो, यो सबैलाई बाहिर हामीहरू देखाएर प्रवर्धन गर्न सक्छौं।
संस्कृतिलाई चाहिँ ठाउँ र परिवेश अनुसार अगाडि उठाउन सक्यो भने राम्रो हुन्छ।
लुम्बिनी जस्तो ठाउँहरुमा चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ हामीले विदेशमा यसको चाहिँ प्रचार गरेर पर्यटक भित्राउने त्यसमा हाम्रो सरकारले छिटोभन्दा छिटो पहल गर्नुपर्छ।
हाम्रो देशमा धेरै मठ मन्दिरहरू छन्, लगायतका धेरै मान्छेहरू मनहरू लोभ्याउने खालका त्यस्ता दृश्यहरू छन्। हामीले विदेशी पर्यटकहरूलाई पनि आकर्षित गर्नलाई त्यस्ता कुराहरू कलाहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले लोप हुन दिन हुँदैन।
सबैको धर्मअनुसारको मठ मन्दिर हुन्छ, त्यसलाई चाहिँ सबैले बढावा दिएर पर्यटनलाई आकर्षण गर्न सकिन्छ।
प्रचार चाहिँ हाम्रो सरकार मार्फत अथवा हामीले चाहिँ आफैले पनि गर्नुपर्छ।
It is now time for our segment Public Polls, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Poll.
The question is, why is there delay in the construction of railways linking neighboring countries to Kathmandu? Your options are A, geographically challenging, B, lack of resources, and C, confusion in process. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for the international news. Moscow has accused Ukraine of deadly airstrikes on southwest Russia, with 20 people killed and more than 100 injured in Belgorod near the border. The regional governor said 3 children were among the dead in what was one of the deadliest attacks on Russia since it invaded Ukraine. A Ukrainian security source insisted that only military infrastructure had been targeted in Saturday's action. The attacks follow Russian strikes on Ukraine on Friday, which killed 39. Those strikes were described by Kiev as Russia's biggest missile bombardment of the war so far. Moscow accused its neighbor of launching Saturday's attack with multiple forms of weaponry, including Ukrainian Olka and Czech-made Vampire rockets. Ukrainian security source said more than 70 drones had been launched against Russian targets as a response to Russia's terrorist attacks on Ukrainian cities and civilians. Spain rescued dozens of stranded migrants off Canary Islands and took them to the Arguin port in the Gran Canaria island. The group of 57 men received medical attention and red blankets at port. More than 37,000 migrants have reached the Canary Islands from West Africa on fragile boats by December 15, 140% more than the same period of 2022, according to Interior Ministry data. Red Cross said on Saturday almost 40,000 migrants reached the Spanish islands in 2023. The archipelago, which lies around 100 kilometers of Africa's west coast, had its previous peak in 2006 when 31,678 migrants arrived as other routes to Europe were blocked off. Hundreds protested in Tel Aviv's hostages square, calling on the Israeli government to secure the remaining hostages' release. The protest took place next to the building of the Israeli Defense Ministry, where the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference for the Israeli press. He said Israel must take full control of the Gaza Strip border corridor with Egypt to ensure a demilitarization of the area as Israel's military pushed deeper into central and southern Gaza. Almost all Gaza's 2.3 million residents have been forced from their homes by Israel's 12-week assault, triggered after Hamas and allied groups killed 1,200 people and captured 240 hostages in a rampage in southern Israel on October 7. The offensive has killed at least 21,672 Palestinians, according to health authorities in Gaza, with more than 56,000 injured and thousands more feared dead under the rubble. Israel says 172 of its military personnel have been killed in the Gaza fighting. The border zone between the Gaza Strip and Egypt should be under Israel's control, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, as he predicted the war in the Palestinian enclave and other regional fronts would last many more months. Netanyahu held a press conference as Israel entered the 13th week of its war against Gaza's ruling Hamas Islamists, which has stoked violence in the occupied West Bank and touched off attacks by Iran-backed groups in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq and Yemen. Israel has said it intends to destroy Hamas in Gaza and demilitarize and de-radicalize the territory in order to prevent any repeat of the October 7 cross-border killing and kidnapping spree by the Palestinians' militant group that sparked the war. Netanyahu added a rare threat to attack Iran directly over the near daily exchanges of fire across the Israel-Lebanon border. Netanyahu said, without elaborating, that if Hezbollah expands the warfare, it will suffer blows that it has not dreamed of, and so too Iran. Supporters of Serbia's opposition gathered in central Belgrade for a protest demanding elections early this month be annulled and new ones be held due to their allegations the ruling party won by fraud. One of the leaders of the opposition, Marinika Tepic, was helped onto the stage by other leaders due to her worsening health after going on hunger strike following the December 17 election. Tepic briefly addressed the crowd, saying the elections should be annulled before the protest began marching through the capital. The opposition Serbia Against Violence Alliance, which was placed second in a general election earlier this month, has accused the ruling Serbian Progressive Party SNS of widespread vote fraud, which the authorities have denied. Coastal communities in California faced another day of towering waves and possible flooding as officials issued evacuation orders in some areas and warned residents to stay off beaches and coastal roadways. The National Weather Service in LA forecast significant flooding in low-lying coastal areas with powerful waves and strong rip currents, posing an exceptional risk of drowning and damage to structures like piers and jetties. Waves as high as 20 feet could wreak more havoc on waterside homes in vulnerable communities along much of the California shoreline, battered by extreme surf and heavy rains over the end of the week. Officials in Southern California's Ventura County issued an evacuation warning on Saturday for residences along the Pacific Coast Highway and areas beaches remain closed, the Ventura County Fire Department has said. The Times Square New Year's Eve ball was tested before the famous countdown to welcome the year 2024. A statement from event organizers says Countdown Entertainment partnered with Fontainebleau Casino to create a bow-tie pattern of lights as part of the ball celebration. For the first time, the ball is expected to be relit after the traditional New York, New York. The New Year's Eve ball, covered in crystal triangles, is 12 feet in diameter and weighs 11,875 pounds. According to organizers, the New Year's Eve event will feature live performances by Florida, Paul Anka, Megan Thee Stallion, LL Cool J, Tila, Sabrina Carpenter, Jelly Roll, Maria Becerra, and Ying Lufkas. The first ball drop in Times Square occurred in the year 1907. The New Year's Eve celebration is among the biggest in the world. And before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. Government accepts lack of awareness while using force during Lalitpur protest. Family members of deceased to be provided 1 million rupees in compensation. Ruling Nepali Congress forms criteria for the National Assembly election, decides to prioritize those previously ignored. At least 20 killed and 100 injured in Ukraine's deadly airstrikes on southwest Russia. 3 children among the dead in deadliest attacks on Russia since its Ukraine invasion. And Manchester City CEO of Sheffield United 2-0 to close gap with leaders Liverpool. Nottingham Forest secure a 2-1 win over Manchester United. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin is at 6 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead and Happy New Year.